Welcome to the Teeter Totter Pod. My name is Mario Zecca. Flying solo this week. Corey's taking a bit of a pause, dealing with some personal stuff. He'll be back next week in Lambeau for week 10. Let's get right into it. I did a very interesting interview with a young man from the UK who moved to the States about 4 years ago. His name's Marley Clifton. He's worked on Premier League soccer, Champions League, all the Grand Slam tennis events. He also did F1 over there in Europe. This is part one of my interview with Marley Clifton.
Okay, our guest this week is Marley Clifton. He's done numerous huge events overseas in Europe and the United Kingdom, Formula One racing, Wimbledon, Premier League soccer, Champions League, and numerous Olympic Games. Marley, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Mario. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on the pod, and look forward to talking.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself, and you can go into where you started, how you got over here to the United States.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I'm a camera operator, mostly working in broadcast, TV, web, what have you. Do some branded content work and, have done entertainment and studio stuff, but predominantly it's live sports, right? And much like yourself and Corey. And that's obviously how we know each other. To go back, just a brief kind of synopsis. I started out at college doing film and TV, and I wanted to get into film and drama, cinematography, that kind of thing. And pretty quickly realized coming out of college that there's no money in short film. And I kind of got an opportunity to start as a camera trainee at a TV production company that do sports mostly in the north of England in Sheffield. So I was 21. Fresh out of college, took that opportunity and started out there. And it was a great place to start. It was a sort of place similar to, I guess, your cable TV companies over here, where you guys tend to start out, where, it's smaller productions. You're working pretty much every day. You're kind of cutting your teeth on the smaller productions. So that was me, with a few bigger productions thrown in. And I did that for like 3 years as a staff guy. PEDs, long lens, handheld, small jibs in the studio, nothing big, but, just a whole bunch of different cameras, and I'm working mostly sports and, just working all the time. And then got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm kind of feel ready to go freelance. This is in the UK. And did that for a number of years. Ended up, and we'll get onto this, I guess, in a bit, ended up in Stockholm in Sweden, working there in the TV industry. Came back to London and eventually wound up here. And the reason I wound up here is that my wife is a New Yorker. She's from New York. And so we lived in Stockholm, we lived in London, got to the point eventually where she was like, hey man, I miss my family. I want to be closer to my family for when we hopefully have kids. And I want to move back. So we got married in the UK, and I then applied for a green card, and this kind of happened. I just about got it around when COVID hit. So it was bad timing, really bad timing. But just about managed to move to New York before COVID got big. And then kind of when I moved was when you guys kind of locked down. So it was a tough time to move because, as you know, the industry shut down briefly. I was, no one knew who I was. I'm just a new guy, new name, young face, British guy, not many contacts. And then you're like, wow, where's the work going to come from? But I guess the one good thing was that a few of the older guys kind of said, well, maybe I'm done. I'll kind of drop out. Opened up a few spots, and having a couple of contacts already internationally from guys in New York that I've worked on the US Open tennis with, back from when I lived in London, I kind of managed to slowly get in. So yeah, I've been here about 4.5 years. It was a little slow to get going, but doing pretty well now. I'm fortunate. I'm working quite a lot, mostly local on the sports here. So NBA, NHL, NFL now since last season. A lot of soccer because that's predominantly what I shot in the UK, one of the main sports that I shot. Mm-hmm. And then I still travel around. I shoot quite a lot of tennis. So I shoot the 4 Grand Slams and a bunch of other tennis as well. And so that's what's brought me here and kind of keeps me busy.
Yeah, that keeps you busy for sure. It is bad luck. That's a stroke of bad luck. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was.
Cool.
It was bad luck. It was rough. And when we moved over, we moved in with my wife's parents, with the in-laws, because it's like we didn't have a place yet. And which was in Westchester in New York. Don't get me wrong, beautiful, but you're kind of excluded from the city. There's nothing going on. You don't really know anyone. And as much as New Yorkers are great and I love them, it's a tough market. It's like, imagine through as the new guy, young guy, a Brit, different name, different accent. You're trying to prove yourself, but you don't want to step on anyone's toes. You don't want to take work from people. But I've been lucky. It's kind of worked out so far. A long way to go, but it's working out.
I know that you've been working on some NFL football with Fox, and that's predominantly what Corey and I do.
Yeah,
and that was good to hear. I'm just glad to see that. You actually sent me some video, and I want to show it now. So maybe you can explain the difference. Actually, what I wanted to get into the difference between the way operators operate the camera overseas in Europe versus here. I've worked on Copa Leagues, Copa America Soccer, or CONCACAF, and I've seen the operators come over. I know that the zoom is on the left and the focus is on the right. You use that star. I don't know what it's referred to there in the UK or in Europe.
I think you guys quite often call it like a pinwheel focus, right? Because that's kind of what it looks like. It's effectively it's like a digital servo demand. We call it demand or remote for focus, right? So it's electronic. It's responsive. It's quicker. And when you roll it, we can go into some of the differences, and I'll talk about it.
I'll add it now. I'll roll it now. Here we go. There's Marley at tennis at the U.S. Open.
Yeah. So
what year was that?
My first one was 2017. So you can kind of you see there, and in this photo as well. This was at the Olympics in Paris this year on the swimming. The next one's going to be tennis, Montreal on the ATP tour. And the big thing that I wanted to get across in these photos, here's the swimming again, pedestal setup, is that, as you said, zoom left is traditional.
Let me go back. I could go back a little.
Go back. First of all, there is no such thing as a crank in outside of North America, as I understand it. So when I moved here, I was like, what the hell is that? I mean, I understood that it was the zoom, but I was intrigued and interested, and started to learn from you guys why you use it, when you use it, what it's best for, and I totally get the merits of it. Didn't grow up with it, right? So we don't use them. So we're always servo zoom, always on the left, and I reckon that comes from originally like the BBC soap operas and using pedestals where it's your more powerful hand traditionally is your right hand, so you kind of steer the ped with your right hand and zoom with your left. The focus would be thereabouts, and then you might tweak it with the right hand when you need it, and that's kind of where that came in for us. So that's what I grew up with, right?
It's interesting you say that, because the soap opera operators in the United States will do the same. They'll have the servo on the left, and the focus on the right, and they just do you're right. They're predominantly
exactly. That's what I noticed when I've worked on some studio stuff here, and that's great because that suits me. That's what I'm used to. When we do the tennis and we rotate cameras because they're such long days, we obviously work with Americans as well, and they're zoom right. And I don't want to say for easier cameras, but let's just say, like, if you're doing a head to toe on tennis at the net at player ISO, I've got no issue zooming right, focusing left. But it's when you're doing the more nuanced camera work, that we do on other sports, or even on tennis, where you're, doing intricate tilt, pans, moves off things, little focus pulls, then I have to go, zoom left.
Right.
So yeah, we don't have either in the UK or in Europe the manual focus that you guys have. I've had to get used to that. I've got used to it now, and I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. Right. Don't get me wrong. I still prefer the servo focus. And the reasons for me preferring that are, I get into this debate all the time with camera guys in the US, just a friendly debate, but like, they maintain that they've tried ours, and they maintain theirs is better. At least it is for them. And I say ours is better, and it doesn't really matter, right? Whatever's better for you.
It's all personal preference. I agree with you. There's no right or wrong.
As long as you can hold focus and you're comfortable with that, great.
Right.
But the reason I prefer it is that, first of all, I feel that sometimes on the manual focus setups in the US, and it depends on the cable and a couple, you know, a couple of other things, but like I'm sure you've noticed, right? No matter the tension that you put on that thing, whether you like it smooth and soft or really stiff, some people like it. I find that if you're using that and you let your hand off it on some of them, the focus can drift.
Yeah, so
Not always, but you know, so you've got to really be on that and holding it and touching it at all times. Whereas the ones that we use, you can let go of that and it ain't moving.
it's not moving right.
No,
I actually use a servo focus on NFL, but I don't use the pinwheel. I have a roller that's very similar to the manual focus now, and I love it.
And do you find that one holds steady? It doesn't drift?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, it holds steady. When you stop, it stops.
Yeah,
it will not move on you. And
exactly.
What I noticed when I first noticed it was at I think it was one of the Copa. I took my daughter to a game, and I was sitting in the end zone, and I saw one of the operators in the low end zone, and he had these numbers on. He basically mapped it out where he knew the far net was a certain number on his focus indicator on the viewfinder, which was really cool. He had the 18-yard line marked, 50-yard line, the near 18, and then the other one in front of him he didn't really have to mark because that's infinite, really.
Yeah,
but it's in front of you like that. It was pretty cool, and I saw how quickly he can get to things, and that's when I said to myself, I'm kind of missing out on this, and I think I should be doing this.
I want to thank Marley once again for joining us. Next week we'll have part 2 of that interview. All right, here we go. It's Corey's favorite segment. I think it's everybody's favorite segment. We're going to do a very special Best of Asks Tony.
Ask Tony.
Yeah. Capicola or Gabagool?
It's Capicola, not fucking Tony Soprano, Gabagool. The assholes say that.
First question.
Yeah.
When you work the camera, crank or servo?
Oh, crank. 100% crank. Servos are for sissies.
Okay. Second question.
Here's my favorite segment. It's my favorite segment.
You know what? It's mine too.
It's Ask Tony. I got a list of questions, and I got a few of my own as well.
Okay.
Okay. First question to you, Tony. What's your favorite sport to shoot?
Badminton. You know the way they work the racket back and forth, little thing flying through the air. It's very exciting.
This might be a
Bocce.
bocce.
Yeah,
What sport is that?
it's bocce. Bocce ball.
Explain that sport.
It's,
Did your father have tomato plants growing in the backyard?
yeah, they were next to the grapes.
All right.
They're wannabe Italians, I'll say.
Do you eat the sauce?
For what? Where did we see that word? What'd you say?
Salt.
The salt?
Please pronounce, please. Buckle.
Yeah, bacala's good.
I went to an Italian restaurant, right?
Hmm?
And they told me to order bacala. But I didn't order it, but I was bacala.
Yeah.
My southern accent.
Yeah,
Say,
got
you say it?
Bacala.
Bacala.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what Super Depeche?
Super Depeche?
Yeah.
That's fish dish. You're close. You're close.
Speaking of Italian,
Uh-huh.
do you have an Italian horn hanging for your rib?
Oh yeah, it's up. It's on my Camaro. Yeah, it hangs from my 1987 Camaro RXZ. Or my guinea tea or what did I say? Tank top?
Oh, good. All right. Well,
It's got bacala stains on it. Clams.
you ever had collard greens?
Yeah.
With ham hock in it?
Oh yeah, down in the south, in
know
Biloxi.
got the, yeah. Come on, you know, from the South.
That is true. That is true. Living in Biloxi, you would have
got collard greens,
macaroni and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of cornbread.
Yeah.
How you like your cornbread? Do you like it sugary or do you like it like plain?
You mean like regular creamy or al dente?
Yeah.
What makes a great K-pop? I'd have to say one that doesn't complain that it's too cold in the truck.
Yeah. Bring 'em out. It's a lot of different cities. A lot of different places in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Can you give me a few of these places, what they might call them, like just different places?
Oh yeah, you got Manville.
Mm-hmm.
You got Lodi.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
I have no clue. I've never heard that day in my life.
It's it's land of dumb Italians.
All right, next question.
Ask Tony.
Ask Tony never disappoints. Corey and I will be back together next week at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We want to thank everyone that's been watching. It's been a long road for us. We're learning on the fly. We're walking. We're crawling before we can walk, walking before we can run. It's been a lot of work for me. I didn't realize just how much work is involved in doing something like this. I want to thank a few people in particular, Keith Reese from the CBSA crew, Chris McCullough, Chuck Sorelli. Thank you for watching, guys, and thank you for all the support. Dave Larson, Mickey Wheeler, even though you don't watch, Mickey. Godfather's disappointed with you, brother. Anthony White, everyone. It's been a interesting time, and we're, like I said, we're learning and we're getting better every week. I'm going to leave you with a video from the LA compound from Fox Sports for the World Series. Our boss, Mike Davis, posted this on Facebook. I asked him for permission. He said I can use it. And it's got a great cameo from the great Sid Drexler.